50 hours, not 50 minutes, 50 hours. That is how long Super Typhoon Sinlaku refused to leave. It sat there, directly over Saipan, like it had a mission to finish. And guys, I have to say, when I first saw this number, I had to look at it twice, because most typhoons make landfall, punch through, and move on within hours. Not this one. This one crawled at just 5 kilometers per hour. That's 3 miles per hour. A slow walk, a leisurely stroll, while destroying everything in its path. The storm hit Tuesday night local time and then continued, a relentless barrage of fierce winds and rains, for hours and hours Wednesday, flipping over cars, toppling utility poles, ripping away tin roofs. And when people woke up Wednesday thinking it was finally over, it wasn't. It was still there. Brian Manabat, sheltering in Saipan with his wife and 4 children, described it this way. Other typhoons make landfall, and within 2 to 3 hours, there's an all clear. Sinlaku made landfall Tuesday, and it was still there Thursday, still pulling trees, still ripping off houses. Let that sink in, guys. This is what a 50-hour typhoon looks like. This is what Saipan just survived. And further in the video, I'll explain exactly why this storm behaves so differently, because there's a meteorological reason for this, and it changes everything about how dangerous Sinlaku really was. Let's talk about what we're really dealing with here. At its absolute peak, Super Typhoon Sinlaku produced maximum sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, 297 kilometers per hour, and a minimum central pressure of 896 millibars. That makes it one of the strongest typhoons ever recorded, and it's one of the very few Category 5 storms ever to form between January and April. Think about that. This wasn't peak typhoon season. Peak season is July through October. This monster formed in April. The last time a Pacific Category 5 made a direct landfall on U.S. soil was Super Typhoon Karen on November 11, 1962. That storm hit Guam with 175 mile-per-hour winds and, in today's dollars, caused an estimated $2.7 billion in damage. That was 64 years ago. 64 years. And now, Sinlaku has just broken that record for U.S. territory landfall intensity, hitting not just one island, but simultaneously crossing both Saipan and Tinian. Sinlaku made landfall over both Tinian and Saipan simultaneously, with sustained winds of 145 miles per hour at 8 a.m. EDT, and a personal weather station on Saipan measured a pressure of 917 millibars at peak passage. 917 millibars, guys. That's an almost incomprehensible pressure reading for a storm hitting land. More than 11,000 homes across Saipan, Tinian, and Rota are right now without power. Many people do not have access to fresh water. Thomas Manglona, the founder of Marianas Press, said it clearly. Right now, it's just a matter of staying alive. Staying alive. On American soil. In April 2026. I want you to hear from the people on the ground, because numbers tell one story. Human voices tell the real one. Glenn Hunter grew up on Saipan. He has weathered numerous typhoons in his life. When Sinlaku hit, he watched at least 3 tin roofs fly past his yard. He told the Associated Press this felt like the strongest typhoon he had ever experienced. Rain was seeping into every crevice of his concrete home. He said, "It was a losing battle because the rain was coming through everywhere. Every house is just flooded with water, no matter what type of structure. Every house, concrete, wood, tin, didn't matter. The water found a way in." A journalist who traveled across Saipan in the aftermath put it simply, "If your house was not built of semi-concrete or concrete, it was destroyed. Just like that. No middle ground." One Saipan resident described a mother trapped in her house needing baby formula, a friend who lost all but 2 of his solar panels, a colleague whose property now looks like a lake, and the hospital. Guys, the hospital. The only hospital on Saipan suffered severe flooding. Reports also described major resorts losing backup generators. Solar panels at the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation, the main hospital, were blown clean off the roof. Residents thought it would be safe to park cars there. It wasn't. Almost all of the vehicles were damaged. The hospital is flooded, backup power failing, no running water for thousands, and first responders still can't fully reach many areas. Bernard Villagomez, Public Information Officer for the territory's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, confirmed, We still have a shelter in place, so first responders have not been able to do a full damage assessment. We are still in the dark about the full extent. That should alarm every single one of you watching this. Manabot, the resident sheltering with his family, said it simply, "Saipan is devastated. Our economy's dependent on tourism. And because of this devastation, it's so hard to tell when we can recover." Guys, if this video is helping you understand what's happening to these American citizens right now, do me a favor. Give it an early like and a hype. Share it with someone who needs to see this. Leave me a comment. Your reaction, your thoughts. That helps this channel reach more people. It costs you nothing, and it means everything. Now let's talk about why this storm was so different. Because this is the part that most people are completely missing. Here's what I have to explain. Because when you understand the science behind Sinlaku, this goes from scary to absolutely mind-blowing. Let's start with the speed, or rather, the lack of it. Weak steering currents kept Sinlaku essentially anchored over or near the southern CNMI for hours. By 10 Chamorro Standard Time on April 16th, more than 40 hours after landfall, the center was still only 274 kilometers, 170 miles, northwest of Saipan, crawling north at just 5 kilometers per hour, 3 miles per hour. 5 kilometers per hour. Do you understand what that means? Imagine someone is slowly dragging a blowtorch across a piece of paper. If they move fast, you get a scorch mark. If they move slow, you get complete incineration. That's what Sinlaku did to Saipan. Landon Adlet, warning coordination meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Guam, explained it this way. Saipan experienced tropical storm force conditions for over 3 days, typhoon force conditions for over 24 hours. Residents endured an extended period inside the eye wall, which Adlet described as hours of the most intense conditions a tropical cyclone can produce. Hours inside the eye wall. That's not a storm passing over you. That's a storm living on top of you. And now let me explain why Sinlaku got so powerful so fast. Because this is where the ocean becomes the villain of this story. Climate scientist Daniel Swain reported that in the days before Sinlaku developed, ocean surface temperatures in the region were as high as 3 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit, above the recent average, which is itself already warmer than much of the 20th century. 3 to 5 degrees above an already elevated baseline. That sounds small, right? But it isn't. Think of a tropical typhoon like a heat engine. It runs on warm water. The warmer the water, the more fuel it has. The more fuel it has, the more powerful it gets. Sinlaku passed over a patch of Pacific Ocean with sea surface temperatures of 82 to 84 degrees Fahrenheit, 28 to 29 degrees Celsius, and it rapidly intensified from a Category 1 to a Category 4 typhoon within 24 hours. 24 hours. Category 1 to Category 4 in one single day. That is what meteorologists call rapid intensification. And it is becoming more common, not less. Now, the waves. The American Red Cross confirmed waves of over 40 feet, 12 meters, hammering Saipan and Tinian as Sinlaku made landfall. 40-foot waves on a small island. The National Weather Service predicted a storm surge of 10 to 15 feet, 3 to 4.6 meters, pushing inland, with rainfall totals of 15 to 25 inches, 38 to 63 centimeters, deposited on both Tinian and Saipan, 15 to 25 inches of rain. On an island with nowhere for that water to go. No mountains to divert it, no wide river valleys to absorb it. Just flat coastal land being swallowed by the sea. Now I want to put this into historical perspective, because I did a little research and what I found surprised even me. The last Pacific Category 5 storm to make a direct landfall on U.S. soil before Sinlaku was Super Typhoon Karen, November 11, 1962. It struck Guam with 175-mile-per-hour winds and caused an estimated $2.7 billion of damage in today's money. The world was a different place. The Cold War was at its peak. The first James Bond film had just been released, and that was the last time something like this hit American soil in the Pacific. Until now. But there's another storm I have to mention. Saipan was already recovering from 2018's Super Typhoon U2, and had barely begun that recovery when the COVID-19 pandemic struck. Super Typhoon U2 in 2018 followed a nearly identical track to Sinlaku, striking Tinian directly. It killed 2 people on Saipan, injured more than 120, left more than a quarter of the island's 45,000 residents homeless. Most structures on Tinian Island were destroyed or damaged. FEMA estimated damages came to just over $1 billion in today's money. So these people have been through this before. 8 years ago, they rebuilt. They survived COVID. They were clawing their way back economically. And then Sinlaku arrived, and now they have to start over again. I have to say, when I think about what these communities have endured in less than a decade, it puts pressure on my chest. $1 billion storm, a global pandemic, and now this. On the same islands, the same people, the same families, and here's what bothers me most about the historical record. Saipan is home to about 50,000 people, including indigenous Chamorros and Carolinians, communities who have lived on these islands for centuries. And yet many federal officials remain, as one resident described it, thousands of miles away, totally unplugged and clueless about the real economic challenges these communities face. These are American citizens, guys. United States citizens. And they are sitting tonight without power, without water, without a functioning hospital, on American soil. Now let's zoom out. Because this story is not just about Saipan. It's about something much bigger. As Sinlaku was making its devastating approach, several other storms were simultaneously spinning over the planet's oceans, including Tropical Cyclone Mela, crossing the equator on April 10th, and Tropical Cyclone Vaianu, crossing New Zealand's North Island on April 12th. 3 active storm systems within days of each other, globally. This is not random bad luck. Scientists say Super Typhoon Sinlaku might have existed regardless of climate change, but warming seas significantly increased the odds of it happening and dramatically increased the likelihood it would intensify as quickly as it did. So the question isn't just, will this happen again? The question is, how often and how bad? Sinlaku weakened from a Category 5 with 175 mile-per-hour winds to a Category 4 with 145 mile-per-hour winds in the final 24 hours before landfall, due to an eye-wall replacement cycle. According to NOAA damage data, this weakening theoretically reduced damage by over a factor of 4, and still the destruction is catastrophic. Let that sink in. If that eye-wall replacement hadn't happened, if Sinlaku had maintained its Category 5 peak, we would be talking about a completely different level of catastrophe. Sheila Babauta, a Chamorro climate justice advocate who sheltered from Sinlaku with her 2-month-old baby, said, "We are taking a devastating hit from Super Typhoon Sinlaku, compounding the urgent local priorities we already face, from coastal erosion to an economic crisis. Our community is strong, but even warriors need rest. Even warriors need rest." That line hit me hard. Because these people have been fighting for years, against storms, against neglect, against economic collapse, and they keep getting back up. But every single time, the storm gets a little stronger, and the recovery gets a little harder. I want to be clear about something. Saipan is not a random dot on a map. Saipan is the site of one of World War II's bloodiest battles in the entire Pacific campaign. Thousands of American and Japanese soldiers died on that island. It holds a place in history that most Americans have simply forgotten. And today it holds something else. Guam, just to the south, is a critical hub for U.S. military forces in the Pacific. The military controls about 1/3 of the land on Guam alone. This region matters strategically, it matters historically, and right now it is underwater, powerless, and cut off. So what should we watch next? First, the full damage assessment. Right now, first responders still cannot reach all areas. When they do, we will find out the true cost of 50 hours under Sinlaku. Second, the hospital situation. A flooded hospital with failing backup power on an island of 45,000 people is a medical emergency waiting to escalate. Third, the road collapse. There is already a partial road collapse at the entrance of the major village of Cagman, with engineers being brought in to assess it right now. A road collapse cutting off a major village. That pattern, we've seen it before. In Sicily, in New Zealand, in every disaster where infrastructure becomes the second catastrophe. And fourth, the ocean temperatures. Because if the Pacific is running 3 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit above average in April, months before peak typhoon season, then what does July look like? What does September look like? I don't want to speculate. But I have to ask the question, because that is the real story hiding behind Sinlaku. It's not just one storm. It's the beginning of a season. And that season hasn't even officially started yet. Guys, If you want to help the people of Saipan right now, the American Red Cross has a direct relief operation running for Sinlaku. The Salvation Army is also on the ground. Links are in the description. These are American citizens who need help today. If you found this video useful, like it, hype it, share it. There are videos in the end screen that will give you more on storms like this, including what happened with Super Typhoon U2 in 2018, which tore through this exact same region. You should really see that one. And if you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee. Link is in the description. I don't want to promote any specific brand. You know the drill. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about stories that most of the world is overlooking. Saipan is out there right now, in the dark, in the heat, without water, without power, waiting to be seen. Don't look away. Stay safe, guys. Be aware. Bye-bye.